Hey everyone, welcome back to She-Burbs Podcast. I am your host, Brooke Wright.
Hey everyone, welcome back to She-Burbs Podcast. Today's guest is Sammie Trinidad. Hi Sammie.
Hey Brooke.
Welcome back to my podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
So can you tell our listeners what inspired you to write your most recent book?
So my most recent book is, I'm pretty known for the historical Filipino fantasy I was writing for a while, but this one is pure mythology. So it's the origin story. So I took a lot of the main characters that I was writing before and I decided, you know what? I want our readers to know where she came from and her entire world and where she actually comes from. So it is a myth origin story. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So as far as what inspired it, it's just because I was actually watching Marvel. So I was watching phase 1 of Marvel and I thought, something I like that they did is that they took these characters and they let you really get to know them in each in their own movie. And so I thought, I want to give my characters their own books. Why not?
Nice. So how did you develop your characters? So within the books, like you have different books for different characters, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, doesn't make sense.
Yeah, so this is it's just we're opening up the world now, right? Or what we're really doing is actually, instead of opening up the world, we're kind of zooming in on the characters and we're giving them each of their own, how did they get where they are? Because that's kind of where I started this story. Is I've been writing the other one that's 3 point of view for a long time, like 2 years now, right? So I know each of these characters very intensely and I knew what their backgrounds were, but I just thought it would be really, really fun to see, okay, well, we know who they are, but I would love to get an entire book with just this character highlighted. So that's where I spent the last month and a half outlining all 3 of their books, and they're fun. I'm excited.
Wow. So when did the first book come out? Or when does it come out?
Yeah, so the first one will probably debut, I want to say early next spring. I'm hoping, actually, I want to try to do a earlier, possibly February or March, but it is up in the air, but I am shooting for early to late spring. So.
Nice. It kind of reminds me of the movie Freaks. I don't know if you've watched that. Have you watched it?
What is that?
It's on Netflix, and this girl, she's like trapped in a house with her dad, and she doesn't know she has superpowers. Like, she doesn't know that she has the
I
ability.
love those.
Yeah, she does not know at all. And so he won't let her leave the house. So she eventually leaves the house and she can control people, like control their minds, like
okay.
them do stuff. Yeah, and it's a good movie. It's really, you gotta check that out. It's called Freaks.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So
good.
Oh, what was you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, for me, especially this one that I'm working on right now, she is a Filipina spirit, and so the problem I was running into, especially with sometimes a Western audience, right, is that they don't always know the terminology the same way that we know, Cinderella or fairies. Like, if I say fairy, we have a very specific, typically like a pixie-like image in our heads, right? And the way that I have built her world is very not like that. She's almost a cross between like an Amazon and a fairy, right? Like, so she's not, so I wanted to kind of explain her whole world. And so it's been really fun to just kind of explore her different powers and what she can do. And I don't know if you've ever had those moments though, where your characters, like, you have it all outlined, you're starting to write, and then all of a sudden you start writing and the characters are like, actually, I have this issue that I'm dealing with. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're starting there. So good thing we outlined an entire outline around this.
So. That's cool. Oh, what does your husband think of your newest books and like your characters and stuff? Does he read any of them more?
He does. So I guess it's common. I've heard a bunch of different kinds of relationships with people, right? Some people, like, their partners just don't read their things at all, which is fine, right? Like, some people, that's just how their relationship works. I have one friend, she doesn't let her husband read it. Like, it's not even that he doesn't want to, she just doesn't like him to. So which I'm like, wow, okay. I mean, if that's your jam, cool. But he definitely does read it. He gets to hear most of my like 3 a.m. thoughts where I'm like, I roll over, I'm like, hey, what if I do this? Like, would that fix it? This might be brilliant. And he's like, okay, show me the. But it is kind of cool. He gets to read a lot of the raw thoughts that I have, and he gets to kind of be there for the storyboarding part of it. And then he also gets to see it in each phase, because that's what I do. I just send him snippets like throughout the day, and he's great. He's like my number one fan. So
that's cool. That's cool that he gives you input too. Like, yeah.
Well, he's a videographer.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah, I don't know if you do videographers as well or only authors, but he does do cinematography, so he has a lot of input in the story building part of it.
Ooh, nice. Maybe you two can collaborate like on a book and like come together and write a book.
Yeah, we've actually talked about that. I told him, I'm like, maybe you should just make these into miniseries. I mean, I would not be opposed.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I think it'd be really cool. So we've talked about that. It's nice that our dreams kind of line up together.
Yeah, that is. So, which characters would you say you related to the most?
So what I found as I was actually outlining these is that I feel like I channeled different parts of me into the different characters. I would say if I were to probably have to pin it down to one character, it would probably be the main one in this one. So her name's Maria. Maria is so her background, right? So she's part of this world where magic light is a thing. Like, everything has magic light. Their entire realm was created as a way for their spirits to basically be able to bond with the magic light. And she was born, for whatever reason, without being able to bond with the light. And so she already feels very different than everyone else. And she, like, to top it all off, she's the daughter of the person who created the realm. So she feels kind of, she's just there's a lot of pressure on her. She already feels pretty different. She's still kind of like, she goes through the training hoping like she will eventually find these powers, but she kind of feels really broken, and she doesn't in her brain, like, she's not wired like literally the same way as everybody else is. And so she views her relationship with like animals or other people as very different. So I think her it kind of sounds bad, but like her angst, I guess, like her I'm so misunderstood. Like, I felt like that a lot growing up. I was very isolated. I always felt like I was a different thinker, and I always had a unique way of thinking about things. But as a kid, I felt really, really, I just didn't feel like I related a lot to the people around me, and within my own cultures. Like, what I love about Maria is she's not anti her culture. She actually really, really loves her father. She loves the people around her, and she loves the culture of everything. But that's her thing, is she feels very much like, I can appreciate my culture and want to do it a different way. Like, I don't feel like it has to be different. And so I love her. She's really kind. She's really compassionate. But I do really, really relate to that kind of feeling of, how do you react when your world tells you you're broken, right? Especially if it's an identity thing. And so that was fun to play around with. I would say my other characters that I relate to, so my other two main characters that are the other books are going to feature, they are, one of them is an assassin, which is kind of fun. He's the most apathetic, bitter character I've ever written, and I adore him because his background is, he's really traumatized, but he will do literally anything to save his mom. So for him, like, I love characters like that. I love characters who have very, very, gray morals, but they do it for a really good reason. So then you get to play with these moral themes. And he's also just really snarky. And so I like characters like that. So I think for him, I channeled the whole feeling like just I have some trauma as well in my background, and so I kind of got to, through him, explore it through different eyes. The way I was telling Brian about it was, he's the character that I get to write, that he does everything. He's what I would have been if I had gone really bitter. Like if I had done all the wrong things or signed a contract for like signing my life away for a good cause, like this is the kind of character I probably would be. And so it's kind of fun to just do like this alternate ego kind of thing. And I'm a big believer in like redemption arcs. And so we'll see though. I don't know. We'll see where his story ends, because he's got quite the trauma. And then the other one, his name is Nimwell, and his background is he gets to represent kind of the revolution of everything going on with the Philippine Revolution, and he was born half. So he was half Spanish, half Filipino. And so for him, I feel like I relate a lot to him because his character from the get-go is the only one. He's the opposite of Maria, actually. So he was the only one born with magic powers in a human world versus not being born with powers in the other world. So he has a lot of expectation from his tribe to like fulfill lots of roles. And I feel like I can relate to that. I definitely feel like the older I get, the more I realize that I placed a lot of unrealistic expectations on myself growing up. And so I feel like the way that he's shaping out to be, he just feels like so much pressure to have to perform all the time. And so it's kind of fun to play with his arc of relax, like you're fine. You don't have to do all these things. Like it doesn't all come down to you all the time. So I really enjoy his arc a lot. So
that's true. I feel like a lot of authors like base a lot of their characters on themselves, like little parts of themselves. They'll put it in their character. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And I feel like listening to like the way you describe your characters and the way you describe your books, like I feel like it could be graphic novels. I don't know why I see graphic novels in my head.
I've actually heard that. There's a lot of people who tell me like maybe these should be comics, or maybe these should be what's that word? Not comics, but like maybe I should be a screenwriter. And I'm like, you know, I wouldn't be opposed. Like that's one of my dreams, is to have my books be made into novels, or made into like a miniseries. Like that would be my dream. but I guess I just never tried screenwriting, so I'm not sure how to tell a story only in dialogue yet. I've always just done prose, and so I'm like, well, I'd have to study it. But I feel like it probably could be. I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Naruto lately, and so I think it's leaking into my stories because I have a lot more action sequences all of a sudden. And so, and in my head, I'm like thinking of the characters being like, oh, this character, oh, that man over there, I see him. He has emotion. What am I doing? I'm like, okay, I need to actually get back into my character's head, not an anime.
Somebody commented on here. I'm gonna post it on the thing. Let me know if you see it. Can you see it?
I think so.
What
does it say?
It says I can definitely see that concept being made into
well, thank you. I hope so. Yeah. I see, and that's the thing too, is I was telling my partner too as well. Sometimes when I write these scenes, I can actually see them as like I see them as movie scenes in my head, and I'm just sort of the person who's like describing the movie scene as it goes along. Right. So for sure, like if that can be done, why not? Like I am not opposed to being whatever. I was talking to a friend about this the other day, about how sometimes authors especially have a tendency to brand themselves as only authors, which is fine, right? Like you're a writer, like of course. But we were talking about how that's a little bit limiting, when in reality, you might be good at a lot of different fields of creating. Like storytelling is storytelling in whatever field you choose to go into. And it's been something I'm thinking about a lot. Like, I guess I don't have to. In my brain, I've always just been Sammie the author for a long time. But now I'm like, well, I don't, maybe, like, why would I want to only be that? I don't know. It's just always been who I am. So I thought that was an interesting perspective for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Because I see because Netflix, they're like looking for new stories anyway, like new series anyway. So I feel like pitching some of your stories, like if you ever
Like
write,
conceptual.
yeah, then definitely check them out because they're putting a lot of new stuff on there, and I'm like, that's a good show.
I mean, that you're getting me all excited now. That's something that I would just fangirl over. Like fangirl over my own stuff. But I think that would be, I don't know if you ever heard of the show Good Omens, but Neil Gaiman was on the set of that quite a bit, and he's the author of those books of Good Omens. And I just think about trying to, like, being in the room where it happens. Hamilton reference. Anyway, but being in the room where they're creating the things that I came up with, I think I would just be like, I think I would just die on the spot.
So, what do you like to do when you're not writing?
So I do MMA still. I also have been doing a lot of hiking. I do a lot of music. So music is a big thing in terms of sport. I do MMA as well. But I also do a lot of, lately I've actually been really into, I do watch a lot of shows, but I've been into coloring books. Like, it's not even that I draw, I just like to color. Like, just, I don't know, there's something about it that is really cathartic. Like, it lets my hands move without my brain needing to think a lot. And so it kind of, I feel like it frees up. I don't know, there's something about it that's just really cathartic for me right now. Like, I really love, I don't know. Like I said, I can't draw to save my life. Like, maybe I should take a class, but I can't freehand draw at all. But I can color. I can take a color pencil and fill in lines.
Can you trace? Like, put a blank piece of paper on there and trace it?
Yeah, no, I can do that. And I've taken water painting classes before, and they're not bad, but I don't have the same visual, like, I can't just like look at something and be like, yeah, here's how I would draw it. Like, it takes me a long time to like sketch out things if I was gonna do it. But I totally admire the people who can do that and do like digital art too. I think that's a skill. Like, I wish I had this, but
can you see the comments on her? I think someone's comment. You can't see them, can you? I'm gonna post.
I don't think I can. That's, but I would.
That one is one of them.
Oh wait, no, I do see them now. Sorry, I had it on private chat. I just clicked on comments. Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
So you can see all of them.
Proud of you. Quoting Hamilton. Yeah.
I want to thank you so much, Sammie, for coming on the podcast today and chatting with me.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on here with you. It's so fun.
You have a great day.
Hey, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, I want to thank you all so much for listening to my interview with Sammie. If you would like to go on her website, I have linked it on my website and on this interview. So if you all want to check it out, please feel free to do so. And I hope you all have a great day and make great choices. Bye.